Yeah, exactly. Nothing in the gate bias.
Given that there's been racing on pretty much every day since mid-August, it's easy to treat today like any other, but it's not. Today is the start of the 37th America's Cup match. Everything over the last 2 months and more has been building up to this moment. The selection of the challenger was one of the most closely fought that we've seen in years, and it's created what looks like being a very strong opponent for the Kiwis. The odd thing is that from a team's point of view, they know that this is an important day, but they'll be doing whatever they can to make sure that they don't get overwhelmed by the occasion. Train like you race, race like you train, as the saying goes. They know it well, but as the dockouts ramp up the excitement, teams are caught right in the middle. They wouldn't miss it for the world, but even the most battle-hardened, accomplished sailors in these teams will be feeling the pressure right now. As Emirates Team New Zealand and Ineos Britannia head out today, they know that as they come off the line for the first time, the world will be watching with a level of intensity they haven't seen before. This is also a big day for the Women's America's Cup, the first ever in the history of the event. Athena Pathway will face Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli in a head-to-head match between the two cup races. At least that's the plan, because the weather might have the final say. Today is anything but straightforward. There's a trough of low pressure drifting across the area that'll bring low cloud and rain that looks set to mess with the light gradient breeze. The bottom line is, despite 2 months of this day in, day out, we know very little about the first key day in the 37th America's Cup. No wonder we're all feeling the jitters. We had expected a tight battle in the pre-start, but when it came to it, they never got close. Ineos Britannia was stuck on the right-hand side of the course and late to enter the start box after a battery problem. As the pair approached the start, they were at opposite ends of the line, with the Kiwis at the pin end. The crucial first tack by the Kiwis positioned them well to cover the British from there and all the way up the beat. On the downwind leg, the British broke free to the right-hand side of the course and took 100 metres back. But on the second beat, the Kiwis covered the British and stretched out once again to round the top gate 36 seconds ahead. By the bottom, the Kiwi lead had extended to 40 seconds, and by the top even more at 56. With the margin extending leg by leg and with the breeze getting lighter, it was difficult to see how the British could come back on the last leg. And a few minutes later, it was clear that they couldn't, as the Kiwis took the opening race of the 37th America's Cup.
I mean, it wasn't the most straightforward race you would have seen, but it was awesome to get a great start there and just kind of control it. Always a little bit nervous just with sitting no wind for so long before the start that it was going to die completely out again. But awesome breeze, awesome way to kick it off, and hopefully we can get another one soon.
As Pete was saying, it was quite a dynamic race, so we learned a lot about, obviously how we've got to sail the boat in these conditions. We've been training all week and we've had such variable conditions, but for us it was nice to get a clear start and get ahead on that first cross and control the race. So there'll be a lot more learning going on over the next few days, but yeah, very happy to get the win in the first race.
Yeah, we didn't have the perfect entry to the race, but actually the guys did a good job to sort of recover from that and keep calm. And we're in a half decent spot off the start line. It was just really dependent on where the breeze went from there, and Kiwis did a nice job. They got the bit of left-hand pressure, which put them in a strong position. They got a good race from there. So yeah, look, it wasn't, we really did a whole lot wrong. They just sailed a slightly better race.
Coming in from the left, Ineos then performed a familiar circle to set themselves up with Emirates Team New Zealand, but the Kiwis seemed happier to keep their distance. What both teams wanted was the right-hand side of the beat. From a tight start at the right-hand end of the line, the Kiwis tacked off immediately onto port. When the British went over to meet them, it was close, as it was all the way up the beat, where just 11 seconds separated them at the windward gate. On the downwind leg, Ineos got ahead, only to lose their lead at the bottom and round 9 seconds behind. The breeze was light and patchy, and there was a swell making it tricky to read the conditions and execute manoeuvres. The Kiwis were making it hard for the British when they could, but you could hear the tension in the onboard comms each time the teams split. All it would take would be a shift or a puff to change fortunes. But once again, the Kiwis held their nerve and held their lead, and on the second lap their lead had grown to around 30 seconds. Despite doing all they could to create an opportunity, Ineos never got back into the game, and the Kiwis took their second win of the day.
Yeah, awesome to get a couple of wins on the board. Really tricky day, so shifty, dynamic, up, down. But yeah, really pleased with the way the group managed to I suppose, make more good decisions than not, and get a couple of wins.
How much of it was what we saw today was a difference in boat speed, and how much of it was actually an illustration of just how difficult it is in these kind of conditions?
Well, I think the difference in boat speed definitely gets exaggerated when you can get on some shifts as the leader. So I think it's a lot closer than what it probably looked today. But yeah, we're really happy with the way we went out and performed, and we know we're going to have, however many tough races from here. So we're just trying to make sure when we get the opportunities, we take them.
In the pre-start, we were expecting a bit more of a punch-up between the two of you, or some close engagement, but you seemed quite keen to keep clear. Was that part of the strategy?
We're throwing in the extra manoeuvres. It's obviously lighter end of the wind strength, so you can't quite do as much as you do when it's, say, 10 knots or above. So yeah, we felt like we gave it a good nudge today a couple of times, put them on the back foot, especially in that first one. But yeah, really happy with the way we went out and executed, and got the sides we wanted both times. And it sounded quite tense at times, certainly when there were splits, and there were plenty of splits during the race from the comms, where you're a little bit anxious about them being on the other side and what that might mean. Yeah, that second race was really close halfway through. We had to do a really tricky manoeuvre at the bottom mark, but we're just trying to make the right decision, and we, I suppose, split up the responsibilities a bit. When you're on the leeward side, it's pretty hard to see what's coming, so you definitely got to rely on the people on the other side of the yacht quite a bit. And obviously made a few little mistakes on those runs, not going early enough on the shifts. But yeah, all in all, the boat felt great. Obviously not quite the way you wanted to start today.
No, it wasn't. We knew it's going to be tough against these Kiwis. They're a class act, and they sailed two great races. We had our moments. I think we've shown if we sail well and we get ourselves stuck in, we can beat them. So, whilst it wasn't the start we wanted, the performance was close enough that I think if we can make some gains, learn maybe some areas where perhaps they're doing a slightly better job from us, then I think we can make those gains and come back and get some wins on the board and take this series where it needs to go all the way. Was today about seeing any difference in boat speed, or was it more a demonstration of just how hard it is to come from behind? I think it was a little bit of both. I certainly think the manoeuvres, particularly the tacking, is an area where they look pretty slippery to me. I haven't had a chance to look back at the data, but yeah, they seem to be doing a better job perhaps of getting back up to speed out of the tacks. We've shown that as a team, we're quite resilient and we're quite good at learning. If we've got something we need to improve on, we can figure that out. So no doubt we can spend this evening and tomorrow morning working out how we can make those improvements, and tomorrow's another day.
They didn't seem very keen on engaging in any fun and games in the pre-start. Not that they could in the first race, but in the second race you seemed to go for them much harder, and they didn't want to engage. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, as always with these pre-starts, there's a few little nuances there, and I don't know whether they were trying to come at us on starboard out of their tack or not, but yeah, the positioning was quite different, I think, to what we've seen previously. So again, we'll have a good look at that. Ian Williams, our start coach, I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about it, and always good advice.
And just talking about starts, that first start you were late in, you had a battery problem, I understand.
Yeah, we had an issue with one of our lithium-ion batteries. We had to replace it last minute, which meant we were late getting off the chase boat and late for the entry. But I have to say the team did a brilliant job not to panic in that circumstance, knowing that we were running out of time and getting late. Everyone sort of kept their heads, and we managed to get through it and get a reasonable start from what could have been a sort of disastrous situation.
And is today the kind of day that after today, will you go back and then can you modify things? Can you change things? What could you change, and will you change stuff?
Oh, there's so much in the setup of these boats. There really is. It's incredible how much you can tweak and fine tune, and I think today again we'll go away, we'll have a good hard look at the data. I know there's changes that we can make, improvements that we can make, and we always said that's the game, it's the development game of the Cup, and we've got to keep doing that to take on the Kiwis and come back into it.
So what do we know? Well, the Kiwi boat is quick and their tactics and boat handling are spot on, so no surprises there. But you could argue the same for the British too. The tricky bit is figuring out how much of what we saw was another demonstration of how difficult it is to come through from behind when the breeze is light and patchy, and how much it's about a difference in boat speeds and techniques. And even having talked to them afterwards, I'm still not sure. Good job we got tomorrow to do it all over again. See you then.